Welcome to ETMA Tech Talk. Here is your host, ETMA's Managing Director, Joe Basili.
Today, we dive into the world of purpose-built Android devices with two people who are catalysts for mobility innovation. Whether you're managing thousands of mobile assets or trying to create innovative capabilities through devices, this episode gives you new, valuable ideas as we learn how NEXA, formerly Social Mobile, is reshaping the way organizations think about what devices can do. Our first speaker combines deep enterprise experience, channel strategy, the ability to think outside the box, and delivery of leading-edge mobility solutions. Please join me in welcoming NEXA's Director of Enterprise Solutions, Janelle DeGregorio. Our second speaker says that being slow to speak and quick to listen is critical and one of the most difficult challenges for any salesperson. As Director of Channel Development for NEXA, he brings more than 2 decades of experience. Welcome, Travis Simpson. What are your firm's focus areas?
Glad to be here, Joe.
What we do is provide technology to enterprises that are looking to deploy devices for some specific use case. That could be in the cab of a truck for a truck driver. That could be a companion device for healthcare, helping to provide information to a doctor or enabling a patient to take care into their own hands. What we do is we provide either custom devices or off-the-shelf enterprise devices that can be used for that use case. We can also lock them down with an EMM built specifically for Android. We provide the one-stop shop to get everything they need for a device deployment within their enterprise. Enterprise-grade devices don't have all the bells and whistles. We looked at the key components that our customers would need to be successful and roll out a lower cost option that still has great processor, so has good memory, a good camera. It can do what it needs. Most of our customers only need to roll out 1 or 2 applications and they want the device locked down. They don't want anybody going on Netflix or Instagram and trying to figure out how to basically do anything other than what the device is made to do. We've taken that approach for enterprise grade because it is a lockdown device used for 1 or 2 specific use cases. The industry tends to go towards Apple and Samsung. The names, they're flashy. The devices are flashy, the latest in terms of cameras and emojis. But when it comes to enterprises, I think enterprises are catching on in that enterprise grade is really what they need. The cost structure, even when you look at the cost between a Samsung and our device, you're talking a $200 tablet versus a couple $100 more for Samsung, even more for Apple. We're moving customers off of Samsung and Apple, first because of the cost, but second because we have availability for 3 to 5 years, a global SKU that can be used anywhere. We really try to make it easy for our customers to do a mass deployment and take all of the work that they had to do before out of it.
I would add that if you look historically, what's happened in the channel is that enterprise customers send Samsung and Apple out there. Most of the time, there's other solutions that have to be added on there to manage these things so they don't get on TikTok and Instagram. And when you start getting to that, there's resource gaps, knowledge, skills gap, all these things. You have to have somebody to manage these extra tools, where our ability to go in and best understand what their environment is like. What are your problems? What are your challenges? What do they mean to you? Is there a way to quantify these challenges? Is it because of regulatory? Is it a safety issue? Is there something that we can do to help alleviate this? If there's a way that we could push an easy button and you open this box and it fixes all these problems and you're able to move forward and have to have less tools to manage these things.
A lot of it is that they have to go through and reevaluate devices every year, which is a huge pain point, especially when you're looking at the healthcare space. And if they have to register a device with the FDA and spend all this time and energy only for Apple or Samsung to come out with a new device the next year. So us being able to provide them with a device for 3 to 5 years that they can utilize is huge. The other thing is the international market. If you are looking at one SKU compared to a Samsung that has multiple different SKUs that you have to validate, all those engineering costs start to add up, and it starts to really take a toll on the business, to where we would talk to customers that would say that in some countries they weren't even deploying the devices because it was getting so hard to maintain that product inventory. A lot of these companies don't have any regard for the use case of the device. They have a population of people buying the devices, most of whom are buying them for personal use. And they want the latest update as soon as it comes out. Like I said before, the emojis, right? Everybody wants the latest emojis on their iPhone. But when you're dealing with a healthcare company where this device is critical to some function, whether it's a glucose monitor or the heart monitor, you have to take that into consideration. So we work with our customers to provide them with the test updates, to work with them on an update schedule that fits into their calendar. We have a base platform that can be spread across different form factors, 5G hotspot, 5G dongle. This was something we were looking into, especially in the healthcare space, to plug into things like dialysis pumps and hospital beds to make them connected on a private network. These are ways we're taking the base technology and streamlining it to come out with more products to help serve the enterprise need.
And it definitely highlights our ability to go into really complex environments and understand that there's really a lot of moving parts, and not forcing a hospital system to say, hey, here's your handheld. Let's try to make this work in so many different ways. Whereas, is there a better way to do this? And when you start looking at wearables, it does allow a larger range of motion to actually utilize the technology in ways that you can't get from just a tablet or a handheld.
One of my customers, Securus Technologies, they essentially provide technology solutions to corrections facilities, a variety of different things that they do. They provide the portal where people can add money to commissary. They provide the applications that are used to make phone calls within the corrections facilities. And they came to us a couple of years ago wanting to build a state-of-the-art corrections grade tablet. At the time, corrections grade wasn't defined in the industry, and they defined it based on the work they did with us. We are launching next month the first corrections grade tablet that is on Android Enterprise and is cellular enabled because of the innovations that we were able to do together. This device is completely impenetratable. That was very important to make sure that there wasn't any metal that could be easily accessed. From the tablet, there are additional sensors. There's an electrical tape in it so that if the device is pried open, an alarm will ring. There is a Bluetooth sensor that the device can be found even if it is powered off. At the beginning of the project, that there were so many different asks that we were like, I don't know about this. But once you dive in and understand why they needed it, they were able to innovate the device in such a way that their competition is going to be able to keep up with it. That has positioned them very well in the market. And as a result, our partnership with them is just growing.
I was kind of bitter about this deal because I was chasing this deal, and Janelle won. I'd never want to compete with Janelle when it comes to large deals. So if you can't beat them, join them. When I sat down and I saw the solution, what it was, and I say you win deals with your ears, the amount of listening and how granular they were able to get to actually deliver, build this solution, and move it to deployment. It is easily one of the most impressive things I've ever seen, because I came from a world where, hey, here's technology. Let's see how we can make this work for you. They built something so custom, so intricate, and how granular it was. It really blew my mind. I wanted to say that I didn't win that deal because of how great the solution was, but also it was Janelle behind the scenes, finding all that information, gathering all that data, figuring out what's important to them. Janelle and I talked about this, figuring out what exactly they need before you prescribe a solution. And that's what they did. That's why they won the deal and I didn't.
It was a lot of listening, a lot of meetings. We had 25 people on site working through every detail, not only from the hardware side, but from the software side. There was a lot of work that needed to build out the full solution. This device has been they've tried to jailbreak it. They've tried to get in the back end of it. There is nothing that they can do to get into this device, which is great. That is good news. It's been through the ringer, and it shows a collaborative approach we take. We're always going to listen. We're always going to talk to our customers. And what seemed as though it might be impossible looking back 2 years ago now, where we are, it's kind of crazy how far we've come with this project.
That whole process, was there one thing that sticks?
What other?
It was a combination of things. The drop test, the CTO, and he will not mind me saying this because he loves doing this. He wanted to throw it against the wall and it not break. We brought him prototypes, and I basically had to tell him, you cannot throw this. This is not the glass. This is not the molding, because that was the biggest ask, because he wanted to be able to chuck it across and have it hit a cement wall and it not break. And we were able to deliver on that, which was great. But that was the craziest ask, because when you throw a phone against a wall, it's going to break.
Wearables is the newest trend that we're seeing because people are trying to take technology. If you look at how a phone worked, eventually they wanted to have a phone outside of the house. And they're looking for ways to expand and enhance the overall end user experience. And wearables is the newest solution that's able to do that. And it's more than just tracking health or things like that. There's a lot of other ways that people are going to find ways to use it. And that's really what I'm excited about, is how if you look in enterprise space, there's somebody that's sitting behind a desk that's looking at their problems going, you know what if a wearable could do this? Would it impact our environment? So I like to say no.
I think you hit it perfectly. Wearables, that's a big buzzword in the industry right now. Everybody wants to understand how they can integrate wearables, even from some of the different use cases we have around healthcare. How can they get rid of the phone that's controlling some implant in the body or cardiac monitor and pair it with a wearable? These are conversations happening today with some of our customers that are looking at how do they make things easier. Nobody wants to carry 2 phones. So do we put it on a wearable on the wrist, or can we do something else with a wearable? So there's a lot of different use cases that customers are getting creative with, trying to make the end user's world a little bit easier. We're always looking at IoT. They all have some sort of connectivity that's not necessarily cellular, but those are the big things that we do get asked. Somebody asked us for some sort of modem today that I have to look into. We tend to get some crazy requests, but I think the lone worker mandate that was brought up a couple years ago really started to spearhead a lot of those. We've been asked to create panic buttons. That was a big thing. We were asked to create a wearable with a scanner on it for another customer. So there's always those different projects that pop up that are really cool. We were asked to build a toy one time. This was a couple of years ago. It was a magnifying glass toy, like a smart magnifying glass. And I will entertain a conversation because I am a salesperson and never say no until I have to. It was very interesting. The timeline was way too short for us to do anything, but essentially it was a magnifying glass that you could put tags on things. That was the weirdest request I've ever gotten. I would love to delve more into airlines, hospitality, and retail. I think they have been kind of cornered in this space where they think they have to use the $2,000 device and that's all they can use. And I think there is such a big market out there. I obviously go to Sephora quite a bit. They always have the handheld scanner to check people out. And I just sit there and I know how much those devices cost. And when I know we have one that costs a third of the price, it drives me nuts. But the adoption in those markets, it's a little bit different. I think that we're getting there with this specific airline, but it's been something where I can't wrap my head around it, especially when you put the dollars next to each other.
What I've observed over the last few years is manufacturing and textile has really had a hard time adapting. One of the biggest reasons why is that I go in and I've sat with C-levels. I see these people who've built out these huge companies with all this machinery, and you could see how they were, what they did work, but they're struggling to adapt to new technology.
Just
you walk in, you see them. What I've seen their inability to grasp and move towards new technology. I think it's 100% lack of knowledge. And because again, you've got these business owners and leaders that built something so big and did what they knew, but they don't have a great understanding of why networking and security matters, why cell phones matter, why all these things matter. Meanwhile, their competitors have a higher adoption rate, but they're seeing that they're not staying as competitive. So being able to get in front of the right people and explain the risk of not adapting and moving towards technology, how it's going to cost you much more in the long run. Safety and security. I think wearables and manufacturing, I think is a really good opportunity. Every manufacturing facility you go into, you always see the big board that we are accident free, how many days? If there's ways to put things on your network, you can track where forklifts and operators are moving around. You can measure traffic. There are applications, I think, that would be very useful in manufacturing. If you look at their machinery, they need to have diagnostics and things like that. It could be extremely expensive, There are better solutions out there. And I believe that we could go in there and make a solution that's much more cost effective, much easier to manage. We talked about resource, knowledge, and skills gaps. So we can do that.
We're really investing in the healthcare space and in transportation and logistics. Bringing Travis on to help manage our distribution is somewhere we haven't had the expertise previously. Healthcare is huge for us. Transportation, trucking, those are industries where we have a really good solution that we're putting out into the market. And specialized products. Our Rhino portfolio, I love selling it. It is a great portfolio. But the fact that we can take those devices and customize them a little bit is one of our biggest selling features. Not a lot of companies are willing to do that. And it's interesting how excited customers get when they figure out that they can put their brand on the back or get a custom case or just modify little things that make the device more usable for them. So I think even taking those Rhino devices and customizing them a little bit, that's also a big selling point for us.
I did not anticipate how granular they could go into any environment and listen to them and actually put something together. When I walked through their technology room where they have everything on display, and you could just see how vast the environments they were, what they did to them. Social Mobile's ability to articulate this was their existing problem. This is what they told us. This is what we did. This is what we delivered. And this is where they're at now. And by doing that, it definitely makes us much more sticky. But it's not just about being sticky. It gives us the ability to really understand who our people are. I mean, we all know that what we do is 90% relationships, being able to get in front of the right people and to listen properly, to let them know that, hey, we're just not here trying to sell you something. We're trying to change how you operate in some ways. Their ability to actually do that and deliver was by far the most impressive thing I've seen.
When you look at our executive team that Rob, our CEO, has built, it is by far one of the best teams I've ever come across working in this industry. Yeah. Around the time I joined, our CFO, Ben, our president, Ed, our chief product officer, Jay, our VP of marketing, Christian, we all came in within 6 months of each other. The transformation of the company that Rob built took it to the next level. Rob has an ability to see something in people that he knows would be a good fit. I probably had a few conversations with Rob before he asked me to join, and he just has this ability to put a group of people together who know how to work together. And I would say that is the biggest thing that I was surprised about, was just the knowledge that this team had, all of us together, and formed this cohesive group. There's a lot of customer meetings, a lot of internal planning, making sure that our customers are getting what they need. My favorite part of the day is working with our partners, our customers, and working on solutions. Andrew Taylor was the president and CRO of Colero, and he helped mold me into who I am today. He told me, you are a solution seller. You're not selling commodities, you're selling solutions. So I view myself as a solution seller. I used to love, and I still love, to do Legos. I love to put the pieces together. And I still do them. I actually just ordered the Simpsons Lego set. It's the nerd in me. And I think it's the same with what we do. When you're building a custom product, you're putting all those little pieces and parts together to create something that at the end, is going to be useful. So I think that's where I fall on that. Yeah, I wasn't a Barbie girl.
I would say that my ability to connect with people at a young age, I went to summer school a handful of years because I was not a great student. And my mother said, son, don't you get tired of summer school? And I'm like, Mom, I get to meet all the kids just like me. You know what I mean? And I just learned to have a love for people, but also understanding that everybody's different. Everybody has their own stories. I grew up barefooted and I played banjo. Nobody ever thought I was going to be in technology, but I've been able to take these skills and be truly interested in what they have to say and what their story is. And so going into the channel, it was a much easier fit than I thought it was going to be. Well, what I would say, and this is what I tell all my children, is you want to be present where you're at and give everything you have where you're at. And when it comes to long-term plans, it's great to have them, but you need to be open. You never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to talk to. We were at ETMA in Arizona, and I had no idea that in just a few short weeks, I was going to be moving from TD Synnex. Be open, but it's good to have a plan.
I was at Colero for 10 years and I was so afraid of change, so afraid to take a leap and move to a different company because I felt so comfortable where I was. I think that it's okay to take a chance. I was Googling stuff when I started here because I had no clue. I was like, RAM versus ROM, what is that? I don't know. These were the things I no clue. But I took a big leap coming here and I had the foundation. But I can't say that if this would have happened 6 months earlier, I would have taken that leap. I'm proud of myself for doing it. I'm a big history buff, which a lot of people don't realize.
If it's got strings, I can typically play. My children play and we play together. I've been in bands and I really enjoy that. My favorite place to play is usually just around a campfire. Some people might be terrible at singing, but it's all right. We'll do our best.
I think I was able to go to the Google Next show last month in Las Vegas that really highlighted how Google is using AI and transforming some of the products that are out there. We're trying to work with a couple companies right now that do some AI consulting to understand how we fit into that, because you always need a device when it comes to something with AI. So we're working on that right now. And I think for me, it's just trying to figure out that landscape and not only how do we fit in, but what are the privacy implications? How does it affect our customers? Who's going to be adopting it? Who's not? I mean, healthcare, obviously, it would be very beneficial for them to adopt some sort of AI, but for HIPAA, how does that all come together? So I think what I've been doing is just trying to figure out and read up on how this is all going to work together in the end.
If we look historically, anytime new tech is introduced, it's always kind of viewed as like witchcraft. Like, who's going to be the first to use it? Who's going to be the first to adopt it? What is that going to look like? And with AI, there just seems there's so much information about it. It's like, what's right, what's wrong? Is there going to be an AI regulatory similar to HIPAA and OSHA? Like, is there going to be something in the tech world that's going to help manage this? And really trying to see who's going to adopt it, what's it going to do? Because sometimes I look at AI adoption, it's like everybody standing on the side of the pool and who's going to jump in first. And as some people start to jump in, everybody's in the pool next thing you know. And so I'm kind of curious to see how a lot of this is going to play out. To Janelle's point, I mean, looking at healthcare, I mean, there's some great solutions, some easy, low hanging fruit where we see that this is a great solution. But then again, we have other bodies and regulatory things and that are already in place. That how do we manage that? What's what here, there, and what's going to be a violation? So I'm really curious to see what that's going to look like over, the coming years. But it's escalating at such a speed. It's like what you knew 3 months ago is no longer, what we thought it was. And so as far as ingesting data and trying to understand, I've read articles on it from, and everybody's got opinions. And for me, I'm more interested in to say, hey, here's the company that adopted this. This was their current environment. This is what it's doing for them now. We can see easy things like Copilot and things like that. Yeah, that's easy. But as far as going into really complex environments, I think that's where we're all still kind of standing on the side of the pool to see who's going to come out with what here. That's kind of where I'm at when it comes to AI.
On all of our products, case studies, and there is actually a form that you can fill out, contact us form if you wanted to get in touch with us. But obviously, Travis and I are both on LinkedIn. If you wanted to shoot a question over, we're always open to talking and jumping on the phone and talk about our solutions.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
ETMA Tech Talk podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes research, collective wisdom, and action. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions from the market's top problem solvers, making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode.